Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima. Over the course of 2026, I'm playing the game Persona 3 Reload. Only I'm trying something a little different. I'm going to match the pace of the game. That's right, I'm playing this game one real day at a time. Please enjoy this different take on the game in a series I'm calling Persona a Day. Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima, and today is Thursday, May 14th. As I like to do, I start out by talking about what we did yesterday. That way we're all informed on what happened, and we come into today being fully aware and sharing the same knowledge. After that, we'll get into today's gameplay and see where that takes us. And then we'll come back here and talk about it a bit more and see what other meaning we can assign things. For anybody watching later on YouTube, I will have timestamps in the description in case you want to jump to a specific section. And I do also want to mention to everyone that this is a full playthrough of the game, so by that nature, we will be encountering spoilers. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's talk about what we did yesterday. Yesterday, of course, was Wednesday, May 13th. And as so many of our days do, we started out by going to school. And we have exams coming up next week. Next Monday is the start of exam week. So that's really been a main focus right now. And I'm sure through all of our classes, that's kind of been that final push to cover all the topics and to work on review to get ready for exams as well. In the morning yesterday, I actually managed to be asked a question in class that I answered correctly. It had to do with the study of Earth's rotation and the use of pendulums as it applied to said research. And thankfully, I was able to correctly answer that. I was kind of behind on my correct answers in class, but I was able to turn it around yesterday and answer correctly. And in so doing, I gained a little bit of charm progress with my classmates, which was very encouraging. But even more so than that was that charm progress actually pushed us up to the next rank. We have moved to level 2 now. We are unpolished, which may not sound like much, but it felt like really good progress to me. We're taking those positive forward steps. So after a nice busy school day of solid learning and exam preparation, we moved into the afternoon time. All throughout the day, actually, before school and after school, now that I think about it, I heard various classmates talking about the school library and just what a great resource that is for studying and exam preparation. And I kept hearing that from other students as I walked around after school, so that kind of planted that idea in my head. I took a little bit of a short stroll around town to enjoy the May weather, talk to some of our regulars, and see whatever sights I can. Get out there and get some fresh air. I didn't want to spend a lot of time out doing that, but just enough to get the blood flowing and unwind a little bit before deciding to return back to the school and really dig into our studies. With everybody talking about the library, I thought, why not? It was a great opportunity to really focus on exam work without getting distracted by any other things. And the same seemed like a good, responsible thing to do. Exams are, getting closer day by day, so we need to do all we can to get ready now. So I headed into the library, took my notes, got whatever reference books I needed. It looked like a really brand new modern library too, so I'm sure it had all the amenities needed to answer any questions I might have on things. And just having a nice quiet space to really dedicate that time only to study was very rewarding. So that's how we spent the afternoon time, going through our notes and just reading up on whatever topics we needed to. Gained some academic progress, and I just felt that rewarding feeling of being productive with my time and getting ready for next week. So as it started to get darker out, I packed up my books and we headed back to the dorm. I had initially, in the back of my head, had the idea of wanting to get back into Tartarus. We made a little bit of progress a couple nights ago, and that was really encouraging, so I kind of wanted to keep that momentum going. And as soon as I got back into the dorm, 1 foot through the door, Junpei was basically waiting there and saying, "Hey, let's go to Tartarus tonight." He was so excited. I was like, at first I was thinking, okay, yeah, I think we're on the same wavelength there. But then he kind of went on to elaborate. I really have no interest in studying. Come on, give me an excuse not to. If we go to Tartarus, then I won't have to study because we'll have to be doing things at Tartarus. And that kind of changed my opinion a little bit. At that point, Yukari was quick to chime in as well that she wouldn't necessarily mind a break, so she would come with us if we were going, but she was kind of that voice of reality that reminded us both that exams are coming, and whether we like it or not, Monday is just a few days away, and that is when the exams start. So she would be there to support us if we decided to go to Tartarus, but we do need to think about those exams and be as prepared as we can. And so, then it was in my head of, trying to weigh both sides, not really playing them against each other, but, trying to see, yes, I would like to make progress in the exploration and understanding of the shadows. But I'm also a high school student, and exams are important. So I talked with everybody at the dorm just to kind of see what they were up to and kind of, get more of their thoughts on the various responsibilities we're facing. And yeah, basically just coming back to the point that exams are an inevitability at this point. I mean, Monday is Monday, and that is when the exams are coming. I think what really made my final decision for how to spend last night was when I talked to Junpei, and he, again, basically said, come on, it's not like it'll kill us if we miss a day of study. Let's go to Tartarus. And, I was kind of talking to you guys in chat yesterday at that time as well. And, that really made me stop right there and think, he wants to go explore this unknown, surreal tower with weird, strange entities that are literally attacking us and trying to harm us instead of studying. He would rather face actual physical danger than he would study. It's not like it will kill us to miss a day of studying, so let's go somewhere dangerous. At that point, it kind of, was like holding a mirror to me and saying, is that the side you were really on? Is Tartarus worth going to right now for that? Just to get out of studying? And at that point, I did kind of have to side against the idea of Tartarus for the night. And again, not that it would be bad to make that progress, but just kind of seeing it presented to me that way and having to acknowledge that thought process of, is studying really that much worse than facing actual danger? I hope not. I can't think it is. And I also don't want to be that one enabling, not really enabling, but being that excuse for Junpei. I don't want him to neglect his studies because, I would have studied, but we had to go to Tartarus. Our leader said, let's go to Tartarus, so it's not my fault we didn't study. If anything, it'd be nice if I could, study with him maybe. Maybe the two of us could kind of keep each other motivated, like when we went to the arcade the other day and we're playing back and forth off each other there. But either way, I really did decide that study was the way to go. And so that gave me a few different options. I thought again about studying in my room, which was good. And I thought about Wakatsu Kitchen because they had that Prodigy Platter, which gets the brain going and, works towards academic progress. And originally I had I'd used Wakatsu before as a good fish meal and it, for the academic progress. But there was the other side to me too that, used other options because the idea of just eating fish to get smarter, while nice, didn't really seem 100% realistic. Not that we're playing a 100% realistic game, but, it's just kind of the story I want us to experience. But I did think that Wakatsu sounded like a good use of our evening. And I kind of like with the school days where I add other meaning to things, I tried to read a little bit beyond what the game just shows us. Kind of the same idea when a school day jumps from arriving to school to being at after school. We know a lot of things happened in between that the game didn't show us. So in going to Wakatsu, I decided, there was probably a little more to it than just going there and eating food. Maybe in the moment he had taken some flashcards to study while he was eating, or listen to something on his MP3 player. Or maybe after finishing a good meal, that motivated me to go back to my desk and study with renewed vigor. So to tie a little bit more to the academic progress than just the act of eating fish. So I did end up going to Wakatsu Kitchen, and I had that good dinner. And by the end of the night, I'd made some good academic progress. And I was able to get to bed feeling like, similar to the afternoon feeling, that I made the responsible choice and the one that was going to be the most beneficial in the short term. And in the short term, that was something else that was part of my idea. As far as we're aware, Tartarus is going to be there. We don't know where it came from or why it is what it is, but there's no reason to think that it won't be there after exam week. But exams, again, are coming no matter what. Very similar to the full moon encounter we had this past Saturday with the big new shadow. We knew that was coming and we had to prepare for that. And I don't really see exams necessarily as being any different from that. So that is going to be the focus of our next week, and I want to be just as prepared for that as I was for that shadow encounter. So that was kind of the driving mentality going through yesterday, and it brought me to the end of the day feeling like I really did take those positive steps. And I'm going to try to keep that mentality going again today as I make my choices, and we'll just see where the day takes us. But that catches us all up on yesterday, so I'll get us over into the game, and we'll see what happens today. We'll be right there. Okay. So this is in Wakatsu after we had our meal. We gained that little bit of academic progress. We're still average, but we got a little bit better off. And having leveled up Charm the other day, you can see that we are now an unpolished, ordinary, average guy. Again, good, positive steps. And yeah, we probably went back to the dorm, studied a little bit, went through our notes, what have you, and just finished off the day strong. So here is today, Thursday the 14th. As you guys have pointed out, one thing we're so good at is overhearing other conversations at school. So we're starting the day doing that again. So I can hear people talking.
Hey, did you hear?
Hey, I think our school might really be haunted. A friend of my senpai's friend said that they heard a strange voice after school one day. Well, if you can trust anybody as a good source, it's always that friend of a friend, right? But yes, they heard a strange voice after school one day.
Excuse me?
No, don't tell me. I really can't handle ghost stories. I'm getting chills. Maybe I should head to the nurse's office.
Seriously?
No way. The nurse's office is that teacher's lair. Are you seriously going? That kind of even gave me that flashback. For anybody that, wasn't around earlier in the playthrough. Early on, we went to the nurse's office, just kind of part of our roaming through the school. And he offered us a mysterious concoction that he'd made that he wanted someone to try for him. And it didn't really give us a choice, other than to just be brave and try it and to trust him. And thankfully, no negative effects happened. If anything, it was nice because we gained some progress in courage. But he was just that kind of out there teacher. He was also the one that taught us about magic, of all things, in one of our classes in one of those afternoon sessions. So he's definitely a unique person. But it's just interesting that they describe the nurse's office as his lair, because that is an oddly fitting description for it. Yeah, he'll give you some weird medicine, and you might end up actually feeling worse. Well, I guess maybe we got lucky then, because we didn't feel any worse for the wear, and we actually gained some courage by trying it. And on that, it should go without saying, but the responsible side of me, don't take random weird medicines from people. You're right. You all know that, right? It's one thing if it's a game, but yeah, be smart. Yes, a teacher who gives out weird medicine? Are they talking about Mr. Edogawa? I should visit the nurse's office whenever I'm feeling tired after going to Tartarus. Okay, well that's interesting to keep in mind then. A different bit of information to listen to before school, but the bell has rung, so let's head up to class. Okay. And it was another quick day as it was presented to us, but again, I just want everybody to think about the fact that it was a full day. We had morning classes, we had lunch, we had afternoon classes, all the different topics, all the different study, and again, with exams a few short days away, it had to be that kind of class tension of trying to review as much of everything as possible and just keep getting ready. So in my head, that's how the day kind of went, rather than just that fast forward from standing in the entryway to at the end of the day here. But how should we go about our afternoon? That is always the question, isn't it? And it looks like we actually don't have any messages today. No messages. And I guess that also kind of does make sense. Since it is the week before exams, I believe we were told that none of the school clubs meet, so no student council, no track team. A lot of our friends, I'm sure, are studying as well, so Kenji's probably, trying his best to get ready for class or for exams as well. So this might open up our afternoon to see the sights around and decide what we want to do with our day. Let's save the game, as is always good to do. And let's also just take that quick look we like to do and see how everybody else spent their time. It's always kind of fun to see the variety of options and different priorities people have. So we've got a bit more people siding with the social link side of things again, 68% to 32%. Spending time with the old couple or with a Suimitsu, which again, it's a person we have not yet met. But the other side went a variety of other ways. I'm keying in on those people who went to the library and went to Wakatsu, because those are both, those academic focused things and, that getting ready for exams next week. And I do really still want to kind of try to make that my focus, because it does make narrative sense, and as a good responsible high schooler, which I like to see our character as, I think that is what he would do with his time. But at the same time, I don't want to let my social links kind of languish there, so I want to put proper effort into that as well and make good use of my time there. I guess making good use of the time is kind of the main point of the game, though, so I hope I'm always doing that. But again, let's just take it slow. We'll stretch our legs after school, see who we can talk to along the way, and see what sort of decisions present themselves as we go. And yes, again, for anybody wondering, I have said before, but I will say again because maybe it's been a while, I have played this game before, that is true. I've fully completed it a couple times. But I promise you, I am not letting any of those past playthroughs influence my decisions. I'm also not going to use that information, to spoil anything for you guys. I'm going to limit myself to trying to only know what the character knows, as best I can. But, full disclosure there, this is not my first playthrough of the game. So there are certain things that I react to that I do already have some knowledge of, but I'm trying to put myself in the character's shoes here and keep it as fun and interesting to you guys as I can. So hopefully I'm doing that. Not a whole lot of, nothing new to talk about, but I've always said about this lobby area here that it's just so fun to see all the different people going about their days in the different ways they do. We've got the school store and the vending machine over here. The students hanging out, by those odd sculpture statue things. People checking out the bulletin boards and things. All just, real things I could see, people kind of gravitating to in a busy school setting. I remember there was a ramp with a bunch of handrails along it at the school I went to, and my buddies and I, we would just kind of lean against that for during lunchtime or after school and just kind of chat for a while and stuff. So it's easy to see some of these people leaning against these columns or things, just kind of doing the same thing. It just feels like a really actually lived in and used building. Another thing I've always been saying with this game, but it's really been easy to appreciate with this playthrough, is how much the game is able to convey with showing and not telling. Having all these groups, you don't necessarily directly interact with them, but just seeing the stationary groups under the light pole there, or the walking students here and there, it just feels like an actual genuine place. And it shows that without specifically saying it. It just puts us there, and we feel that without consciously noticing it. It's so cool. Let's take the long way around today. We've been kind of getting into that habit of starting down at Port Island Station and working that way, so let's mix it up a bit. And again, I'm not sure where we're going exactly, so we'll just try to figure that out as we go. We'll start over on the station side of things here. There haven't been that many people to interact with over here, but just like at school, there's all these different groups doing their own thing. It just makes the world feel that much more lived in. No one new to talk to today, so we'll leave them all alone. And here's Bookworms, the bookstore where the old couple works. We could spend some time with them. It has been a little while. Here's Wakatsu. That's where we were last night for some academic progress and a good meal. Another thing I'm not opposed to doing again, but at the same time, I don't want to let the playthrough become too formulaic and repetitive. That's something else, again, with the fact that I have played the game. That's something else I do want to reiterate, too. I'm not using any sort of guides or optimal strategies here. I'm making choices that I feel like I want to make and that the character would make. Not not the best choice. I mean, I'm sure there's an optimal route for Thursday the 14th. And if I happen to take it, that's a good coincidence. But I'm not doing it by choice if I make any good choices. I'm making this my playthrough. If you guys wanted a walkthrough, I'm sure you guys would be watching a walkthrough, not watching me stumble through this. But again, it just makes it that much more unique. You could watch a perfect playthrough anywhere, but you can only watch this unique struggling version here. So I'm hoping I can make that fun for us. I've been enjoying it. I hope you have too. The shrine, there's just something so relaxing about this place that I never appreciated as much in other playthroughs of the game that I've had. Sure, it was a nice place, visually appealing, a nice connection to nature, but I've seen so much in this playthrough, just in this month and a week or so that I've been playing it, that I've had the time to actually just take it in and stop and reflect and make the places actually part of the playthrough rather than just a backdrop setting for things. We come here pretty much every day, and I definitely didn't do that back when I was playing by myself. And it really is helping me make that broader connection to the world around me. We've stood under the sacred tree quite a few times. During Golden Week, we came here to reflect about nature and, the past and the present and the future. And it's it's really fun to think about that, and that I can actually tie that back to Golden Week and think that was, over a week ago now, and we were here doing that same thing. And it's been a real, actual, that amount of time. It wasn't just like, 2 days ago we were on Golden Week. And, no, Golden Week was when the real Golden Week was. I guess that's all to say as I'm rambling around here. There's not a lot to see or talk to that we haven't already seen or talked to, but it's nice to just stop here and take it all in again. We'll head off to the mall here and talk to our regulars. We've got a kind old man we've seen before. Looks like he's got something new to say, a cheerful old man. I heard escapade means mischief. If I had to guess, based on that place, I'd say it means stay up all night and make lots of noise. Yeah, that might not be the worst interpretation of it. For anybody who's wondering, he's talking about Club Escapade over here. It's a nightclub that's open in the evening hours. That was actually one of the first motivating factors we kind of had in the game. We couldn't go in there until our courage was at least ordinary. And seeing that kind of just gave me that motivation to start working on courage earlier on. So I did what I could to get to a higher level of courage, and finally we were able to be courageous enough to enter. And inside there's the club music scene, the lights, the good contrast of bright and shadow, and all the people just enjoying that party atmosphere. But yes, activity and noise do definitely seem like fitting descriptors for it. Let's take a look here at Game Parade. I always like to see what games they have available. We've got High School of Youth, where we could work on our charm, or Punch Boxer to help our persona's strength. Nice options. I'd have been more interested in potentially working on charm if I had leveled that up the other day, but right now academics is really my focus for the social stat side of things. Aohige Pharmacy here. Just like with the shrine, it's been nice to have more reasons to stop in and talk to these people. Just like with the shrine, I want all the shopkeepers around here to feel more like characters and less just like shopping menus. So we like to stop in and just say hi to the pharmacist here. He doesn't look overly busy, but I don't want to take a bunch of his time. But I just want to stop in and say hi, check in with him, hope he's having a good week. He added a couple new bits of medicine earlier in the week, so we've got a couple other healing options to consider purchasing. And he has sales on Saturday, I believe, so that's one of the ideal times to come in and do some shopping. So I'm not really here for much other than to say hi, but...
You got everything you need?
I do. I just hope you're having a good day and everybody's keeping healthy.
Come again, yeah?
I will. Good to see ya. And back here, for anybody who, again, hasn't been here in a couple days, you can see Elizabeth is standing outside the Velvet Room door for us now. That's because she has a variety of requests for us. Little things she wants us to do, things to, find and pick up and, show her, or, she's even mentioned at some point there's going to be places she wants us to go. It's been just kind of fun to have those additional bits of progress, like defeating a total of 300 shadows, or fusing a persona that's got a specific ability. It gives that different focus to the game, and lets me make use of game mechanics in a way that I probably wouldn't give enough priority to if there wasn't some actual in-game directive to do it. I mean, a lot of these things I would do naturally, defeating shadows or opening treasure chests. But, finding key items, or, prioritizing going to Wild Duck and, completing their Big Eater challenge. I mean, yeah, I would probably do it eventually, but having it actually on a list here, keeps it in the forefront of my mind. Also given the fact that as you complete, certain requests, that unlocks subsequent ones. So, maybe request 9 won't be available until I can finish request 8 here. So there's something to be said for not letting them go too long. And you can see the deadline column there. They're all dashes right now, but there are some we've already completed that do have actual set deadlines. And if you miss those deadlines, then the quest has failed. You can't complete it. So any of those I do like to give a little bit of extra attention to. And just, it's one of those things that ideally we'll be able to chip away at as we go forward. I'm not going to worry about it unduly, but as much as I can, it's just that other bit of progress and completion to work towards, so I want to do my best with it.
Very well, then.
Elizabeth, thank you for, letting me give that, presentation to our audience here. Let's take a look in on Igor as well and hope he's doing well. And again, I just love how, Elizabeth welcomes us here now. She moves to the side and basically opens the door for us. And I don't know if you caught it there, but she was actually standing by the interior door here as well to welcome us to, our door to the Velvet Room, along that hallway of doors that could go anywhere. Again, it's those little details that I really like and have been able to enjoy picking up on. But again, we're not here for much. I just wanted to stop in and say hello to Elizabeth, hello to Igor. They've been so good to me so far and keeping track of my personas. I hope I can keep counting on them, and then I hope they're having a good week. So Igor, Elizabeth, thank you, and take care.
We look forward to your next visit.
And watch as we leave. Maybe you'll pick up that silhouette of Elizabeth by the door as we go out. I'm not sure if she, helps us out of the room, but she might be there as well. Yep, there she is again. And she walks out with us. And yeah, again, just nice little details I enjoy like that. Officer Kurosawa here has been our source for weapons and equipment.
I think of it.
The last couple days, ever since Saturday, he's talked about how the people with apathy syndrome there have been fewer cases around, which he's encouraged by and thinks we have some connection to that. We're still not, 100% sure, but it does seem oddly coincidental that we beat this large shadow and then the cases of apathy syndrome started to dwindle. I guess we won't question good progress, right?
What'll it be? What are you looking for?
And he does have some new gear that we haven't purchased yet. We've got a little more money than we'd had recently, but certainly not enough to really, spend without some good solid consideration. So I'm not really here to shop today. I just wanted to stop in and check on Officer Kurosawa and thank him for his help around town.
You finished?
I am.
Be seeing you.
If anything, depending on how I spend my day, I might want to actually go back to the Velvet Room and pick up a persona to make sure that I've got the right arcana, for whatever social link we're interacting with. Which at this point might only be the old couple. And they are the Hierophant, I believe. Let's double check. Old couple, yes. We're ranked 2 with them right now. Bunkichi and Mitsuko. And even better, I do have, that social link, that arcana with me and Vareth here. So I wouldn't need to pick up a new persona today. If we spend time with them. And that wouldn't be bad. It has been a little while. It's not studying, which does kind of fly in the face of what I was saying earlier about preparing for exams and prioritizing that. But we haven't ruled anything out yet along our travels. We've got a shy man and a calm woman. We've interacted with them before. So I guess we're going to stand here and listen in on them again. Shy man here. How's your club going? Not bad. A nice basic exchange. Nothing earth-shattering, but it has been kind of nice even to just follow these regular characters as well. They've talked about club activities before. I think she talked about soccer at some point, and he was trying to come up with things to talk about, and so was she. So it's just kind of one of those longer narrative type things that, again, it's easier to see because we're playing the game at this pace, in this format. We've got the screenshot movie theater here. We haven't actually done anything here yet, but I always like to check and see what movies are showing. Screenshot movie theater. The School of No Wonder is now showing. High school students pay 1,500 yen. That could help with our courage. Probably not a bad movie, but probably not how I'm going to choose to spend my afternoon. Looks like nothing to see up at the top of the station stairs here, so I don't want to get in the way of all the progress and activity up there. Nice little flower shop down here. Again, nothing we're in the market for, but I like to see it. But one place we always make sure to stop when we're at Port Island Station is in the back alley here. This here is the Weak Cat. It says Mew, we say Mew to it, and it's just kind of become an unofficial mascot for this playthrough at this point. It's a character I never really gave a lot of, attention to in past playthroughs, but Mew. It's just been such an oddly regular character in our streams. You guys have seemed to pick up on it. I've definitely been enjoying spending time with it. And I like to also stop over here. There's another cat that I like to think has some connection to the Weak Cat over there. If we get too close, it'll run off, so I don't want to spook it, but I want to acknowledge its presence as well. And a couple delinquents that hang out back here, or at least self-styled delinquents. They seem to have a bit of a temper on them, but they seem like good guys overall. But I think maybe we've wandered around enough for the afternoon, so we really have to make an actual plan. let's again just think about that over here. We have no messages. Yeah, we hadn't met anybody named Suimitsu, so that kind of takes that social link option out of there. So really, my branching choices in my head are to either consider spending time with the old couple or doing something academic, whether that's studying at the library again or going back to Wakatsu. The arcade is out for that. The movie theater's out for that. And again, as much as I really do want to focus on the academic side of things, both studying in the library and Wakatsu are things I literally did both of yesterday. There are only so many options to work on academics, so there are going to be repeats like that. But I do want to kind of vary it a little bit here and there as much as I can. Yep, the wheels are turning in my head, but it's just as silent there as it was for you guys, so I wasn't, keeping it all to myself there. It's just that almost, analysis paralysis side of things. Like, what do I want to do? I want to do everything, but you can't. You've got to make that choice. So, since I do already have that persona Bareth with me, I am thinking about spending some time with the old couple. Yeah, that doesn't really help with exam preparation, so yeah, you can feel free to call me out on that, but it has been a while too since we spent time with the elderly couple. I think it was actually the last day of Golden Week, back on Children's Day, that we were actually last with them, so it would be nice to stop in and see how they're doing. Maybe I'm kind of following Junpei's lead from last night about, avoiding my responsibilities by trying to fill it with other things, but let's do it. I don't want to, keep us in limbo here. We've got to make a choice. The fact that I've already got that persona with me kind of feels like a message, if nothing else. We'll save it up here, and we'll commit to our choice. Good or bad? Here's your question in the comments. Feel free to let me know. If you were facing the choice between studying for exams in-game today or spending time with the old couple, which would you have chosen? I'd be interested to find that out. You guys have been great so far, so I, kind of goes without saying, but I will just remind you, just try to be aware of spoilers. Try not to, don't look beyond today, but just in the moment, if this was your choice, what would you guys do? Use bookstore bookworms. Feel like I can grow closer with the Hierophant persona Bareth. So yeah, let's check in on the couple. I like that idea. Doing it. I'll spend some time after school at the bookstore. Who knows? Maybe since this is a bookstore, maybe I can find a good study guide or a reference book while I'm here that'll help me study and just do that final push for whatever exams throw at me. Yeah. So while we're here, let's look at the books and see if there's anything that we need along the way. The game won't show us that, but just in our own story, I think that's what we're going to be doing while we're here. We can multitask like we did at dinner yesterday.
That's strange. I swear I left it around here. I don't see it anywhere.
I'm not sure what they're looking for, but I can relate to that thing that was supposed to be there that's not there anymore. And yeah, I think he's obviously looking for something. He said it doesn't seem to be there anymore. I mean, I could ask if he's cleaning the store, but it seems a lot more obvious from what I was able to overhear that he's looking for something. It used to be here, but it's not here anymore. Looking for something? Oh, Tom-chan.
How'd you know I was looking for something? Are you psychic?
No, I'm just good at eavesdropping. Chat's pointed that out quite a few times.
I'm looking for my glasses. Not my glasses, my wallet. I can't seem to find it.
I've said it a lot of times with Bunkichi especially, but he's that kind of old man character that it's really hard to know how serious he's being at any time, which is good and bad at times, depending on the interactions we've had with him. Last time we were here, he pretended not to know who we were, and I've seen you before. What's your name again? And, so we told him. He's like, of course, I knew who you were. I was just pulling your leg. Just that playful, kidding old man kind of idea. But, at the same time, later on in last week's conversation, there was a point where he was wondering where the boy that used to work here was. We hadn't seen anybody else. He seemed genuinely like, where is that boy? Why isn't he here right now? that's when his wife mentioned that, that was their son who used to work here, who unfortunately at some point has passed away. So that seemed, he wasn't joking there. He did kind of seem a little bit confused. So when I hear him say things like, I'm looking for my glasses, or not my glasses, my wallet, I kind of wonder, is he actually doing that? Or is this a bit? I can never really tell. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's actually somebody I can think of in my own life who was just like that. I would see him, when I was out around town doing things, and, he would stop and he would just, with this, perfectly serious face, ask me whatever question about, oh, hey, have you seen, I can't even, think of his proper delivery, and I can't do him justice by talking about it, but he would just, totally with a straight face ask me something. Did you hear about the group of, geese that flew over yesterday? And I'm like, no, what about the geese from yesterday? And, that's when, there'd be that bit of a smirk, and, he would come up with some just perfect goose-related pun or joke after that. And again, you're never sure if he's talking about something serious or if it's a joke. So, seeing that in Bunkichi just kind of ties that into some real people I know, and it's that much more fun. And that's true with a lot of the social links, so maybe you guys see that too in some of the social links. But they've really made good, strong characters for this game. But that was quite the tangent, so let me reread Bunkichi's line as we get back to the conversation. I'm looking for my glasses. Not my glasses, my wallet. I can't seem to find it. Yeah, I do wish him luck, but I just like that instantly dismissive sort of like, oh, well, good luck with that. I'm going to get out of your way then. I want to help him find it if it's something I can do. Maybe we'll come across it while we're looking for that study reference guide that I was talking about. And if he doesn't want my help, he'll let me know, but we're not out anything to offer. So yeah, can I help?
Honestly, I do wonder if you can read mine. I was just thinking how nice it would be if someone lent us a hand over here.
All right, I'm the right place at the right time then. The three of us are searching high and low for the missing wallet.
We've searched everywhere, but... Wait, what were we looking for again?
Bonjour!
This is a voice I seem to remember from one of the first days of school. There was a student talking with one of the teachers by one of the classrooms on the first floor.
I found something important on the ground outside. Does this belong to you?
Oh, yes, that's it. I've been looking for this wallet everywhere.
Fantastic.
It may not be full of silver or gold, but this here is an even bigger treasure to me.
I can relate to that concept as well.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Are you not the transfer student everyone is talking about?
Everyone's talking about me? Well, I hope it's good stuff, but yes, I'm the transfer student.
I am one as well. I am a student at Gekukan.
All right, we can be transfer students together then. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, I want that proper introduction. Seems, again, a little, cold and dismissive to just, demand, who are you? Like, oh yeah, it is nice to meet you. He took the time out of his day to do a favor for a friend of ours, so I want to react with kindness as well. So, yeah, give him that handshake. Nice to meet you.
I am here from France as an exchange student. My name is André Laurent Jean Geroux.
Okay, I'm going to want to think about that one for a while. André Laurent Jean Geroux.
But you can call me Bebe.
Oh,
It's
okay.
quite nice to meet you.
That will be much easier for me. And for anybody wondering, that seems to clear up that mystery of some of the social links we'd seen that we hadn't encountered before. Sometime last week, I guess, some people were spending time with, someone named Bebe that we hadn't met yet. So this is that mystery person. Nice, again, yeah, nice to meet you.
I am delighted to, make your acquaintance. Yoroshiku.
Yoroshiku.
I train in the home economics room every day. If you get bored, come join me.
I love the way they depict Bebe in this game because he works in Japanese phrases and you can just really feel that love of the Japanese culture that comes from him. But I also like the thought of them keeping the strong French accent there, and some of the choices of wording they use here. Like, I train in the home economics room every day. It's not, not that I spend time there or I make things there, I work in there. It's like I train in there. It is probably what he's doing and what he sees himself as doing in there, but there's also that part of me that wonders if that's another one of those, kind of choices of wording there that conveys that foreign, background. The meaning is clear enough, but there's also that little bit of, that's not quite the word you normally hear with that. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't done much of studying foreign languages because I can barely communicate my own, but I can definitely see that in a lot of, depictions and things. So I like the way they've handled Bebe in this game. And it's nice to have another option here. He trains in the home economics room, so maybe we'll have to make our way there someday.
Well then, au revoir and sayonara.
Sayonara, au revoir. A different interaction than I thought we'd have here with the old couple today.
What a classy young man.
Yeah.
I know I kept it in my wallet. I didn't want to forget about it at any cost.
And it was nice that he brought the wallet back, and it was almost one of those secondary thoughts at this point after meeting Bebe and talking about that, but that was the number one reason. It's like he was bringing the wallet back. So I'm glad that was returned to Bunkichi, since it obviously has something important to him here.
Ah, there it is. I knew I put it in here. Good going, me.
That good positive self-talk, I like it.
Dear, that key. Is it?
Come on, dear, you know what it is. It's the key to our son's car. Such a nice boy coming to visit us has a way of making me feel young again. Been a while since I felt like putting the pedal to the metal. What age do I look, dear?
Please don't. Why must you get into a car? Do you want me to end up all alone?
Well, I can read a bit between the lines on what I'm seeing here, so. I don't know. Of course, there's a dialogue choice that now I've got to, insert myself into this conversation that I really think I should be an observer for, not a participant in, but. I feel like it's better to ask about the car. I mean, I don't want to, focus on that potential all alone side of things and, worsen whatever thoughts are going on in their head. So let's try to turn away from that side of the negativity and go to a different direction. Let's ask, what's this about a car?
Oh, I'm sorry for raising my voice. Did I scare you?
It's not a side of you I've seen, but I'm here to get to know you, and if that's a side of you, that's a valid thing to see.
Our son. Remember what I told you? How he passed away?
I do. We were... Chat and I were talking about that before we conversed here.
On his way home from work, he got into an accident. He was hit by a dump truck driver who was drunk on the job.
It's hard to have words for that. I mean, deepest condolences, obviously, but... I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not going to say anything about that being terrible luck. No, I am genuinely sorry to hear that for them.
Oh, please punch me. Just punch me for being so insensitive. With all my excitement, I forgot to consider how my wife might feel. Oh, I'm such a...
I don't think he did anything wrong. I mean, he kept that key in his wallet, obviously. It means a lot to him. They've kept that car. It's like keeping a part of their son, I suppose, so I don't think anybody could fault Bunkichi for that. Bunkichi shared the truth about their son's death. I feel like we're growing closer. That's rank 3 on the Hierophant with the elderly couple. They can't all be cheery tales, but I am glad that they trust me with this information and that I can be there, with them to offer whatever role I can in helping them out. Even if my only, place here is to listen and let them reminisce, that's totally fine with me. There are a lot of times where there aren't problems to solve, they just want somebody to talk to, and I'm happy being that sounding board for them.
Huh? Why are we all just moping around here?
He did the same thing last week when we were talking about his son. He has a good ability to spin things back to a positive direction.
Since my wallet's been located, why don't we go out and have a nice dinner, dear?
That doesn't sound bad. The two of them can spend some time together, maybe talking about their son, maybe only talking about as much as they want, and either way, having some good food to enjoy, spending some time as a couple. They deserve that.
And this is for you. Consider it your reward for helping us look around.
Bunkichi-san stuffed a medicine into my pocket. I do appreciate it. It's kind of the same thing from a couple interactions ago with them where he gave me some melon bread. He offered it to me and said, "Do you want this?" And I had the chance to reject it or to accept it. Personally, I don't feel like I deserve any sort of compensation because I did really just want to help him find what he was looking for. But I don't want to throw his appreciation back in his face and, turn it down. So I will be, gracious and humble and say, "Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. He's looking out for me." That melon bread actually really helped on Saturday during that shadow encounter. So who knows what this medicine will save us from next time. I also like to kind of try to tie that back to the story he was telling us about his son. This is a healing item. Something, in-game that restores HP. It's medicine, but it's that thing that promotes good health and acts as a defense against something bad and as protection against, literal ills. I like to kind of see that as Bunkichi trying to reach out and do his part to try to help someone. I mean, not that he couldn't help his son because it was an unfortunate incident that took him from him, but this gives Bunkichi that little bit of agency and that he's reaching out and doing that. It will help us. I'm sure it will. So I want to be as appreciative of that as I can for that reason as well. Thank you very much. I parted with the elderly couple and went back to the dorm. Well, I think that felt like a really good afternoon. I was on the fence between that and academics, but I'm happy with that choice. We got Junpei at the door here again. I wonder what his tone is like today. Sup, dude? Hey, let's go to Tartarus. You can study anytime. We need to get stronger ASAP. You don't want me leaving you in the dust, right? I'll take down the next big shadow myself. This is another one of those tough calls because I don't want to stir up confrontation. So, yeah, he does seem confident. But, at some point, am I doing him a disservice by not trying to steer him off of a difficult path he might be setting up for himself? Maybe that's, vain of me to think that I can, decide for him what's best for him and tell him to go hit the books. He does seem confident. Maybe I can spin that back to exams. Like, oh, I hope you're as confident about exams as you are about going to Tartarus. Well, let's reward the confidence. You seem confident. Damn right. Why shouldn't I be? Well, Yuri, you must be quite confident in your grades to be so interested in or insistent on not studying. Mitsuru there on the exact same wavelength as I am. She has definitely been that voice of reason throughout this playthrough, and it's almost surprising she even gives us the chance to go to Tartarus this week with exams looming. Well, maybe I could study just a little more. Again, that's something that really just helps set my entire evening tone here, because even coming back today, I'm like, can I go to Tartarus tonight? Surely one night won't be that bad. We studied yesterday, right? But seeing that dialogue exchange, I feel like there's no way I can say we should go to Tartarus tonight. I like the thought of even just approaching Mitsuru with that and saying, hey, can we go to Tartarus? Because I could just see her just giving me that deadpan stare for just 15 straight seconds of silence. Just letting me live with what I just said. And you'll really let that kick around in my head. Before she would probably then say something, are you sure that's what you want to ask for? And then I'd meekly retreat to my room and say, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to go study. But no, for now, we're going to head up to our room. We're going to drop our bag off and think about how to make responsible use for this evening. And yeah, again, for anybody that wonders why I come up here, you can see that I no longer have that bag on my shoulder. It's a fun little game detail that doesn't really technically change anything, but I like the fact that I can come home from a day out, a day at school, and doing stuff after school, and just take that bag off and probably put it in my closet there, and not have to carry it around anymore. And I've said also before that this gives me more of a reason to come up to my room. There are so many times in the past where if the day didn't start in my room, or even if it did, I would see it in a cutscene, and then I wouldn't be back here again until something forced me to come play the online game or do the Sunday TV shopping. So using this as more of an actual place of mine, it's again just been one of those fun things about this playthrough. And again, there are no messages, just like this afternoon. So it seems like everybody is pretty busy right now. Speaking of spending time, let's get that save up to date. No going back now either. Not that I would, but this sets it in stone now. But just like this afternoon, let's also take a look and see how people spent their time. 4% of people disregarded the idea of studying and still went back to Tartarus. And that is something I do want to acknowledge. I don't want to put off Tartarus too long, because yeah, we do need to stay prepared. And the fact that it shows us everyone's average level and total floors explored, if we look at our average level here, we're well below 17. We're only at 13 right now. And floors explored, I think we're in the mid-20s right now, probably 26 or 27 maybe. If that even. I can't quite remember where we left off, but we only defeated one Guardian so far in this section. So I don't want to let it go too long before catching up, or it's just going to be that much harder to get back on pace with everyone else. But, on that other hand, like I said, there's no reason for us to think Tartarus won't be there after exams. So I think exams are still the most important thing we can look at right now. But let's head downstairs and talk to some people first. I want to get to, see everybody else's thoughts on things, where their week has taken them, if they're dedicated to studying, if they're looking for a break, just what's going on in their head. Maybe we'll take a stroll around town before we, hard commit to anything, as we like to do. While we're here, let's just, get cleaned up, clear our heads. Yep, as we've been thinking about, this is the season where bugs start to crawl out of the woodwork. A terrible time in my mind, but inevitable with passage of time. We've got Akihiko back here, nothing new to say to us, but looking like he's focused on what he's doing, so we'll leave him to it. Don't see Yukari. Maybe we'll have to head back upstairs and see if she was doing some studying on her own up there. Or maybe she's out with friends studying again. She was doing that the other day. Junpei. How you doing? You ready for exams? I don't want to be that bummer, but...
Get a load of this.
Studying is actually about stamina, So I need to get fit and improve my stamina, which means working out and getting a good night's sleep. Well, I guess I don't got time for studying. It's kind of scary that, some things Junpei says I can, really hold a mirror to myself and have to confront that own side of me as well. Like, I can't work on this right now. I've got to vacuum my room, or, I obviously can't do this right now because I've got to go, clean out that drawer that I haven't touched in the last 5 years. Surely that's the biggest priority right now. I can't do that one important task because I need to go take a walk and work on my stamina. So, before I laugh too much at Junpei's logic there, I have to throw those stones at myself first and say, maybe he's not too far from the mark. Maybe some of those things that sound absurd from him sound absurd from you as well. So, yes, I'm guilty there too. I'll admit it. Mitsuru, how can I better myself? Let's chat. It's good to be motivated when it comes to C's, but remember that we're students first. With that in mind, be sure to keep up with your studies. We can't not work on academics tonight. There's no way I would feel right doing anything but academics. Okay, yep, and Yukari is out anyway, so yeah, definitely no Tartarus tonight. Which is kind of rough because I do want to get back. We made some good solid progress, and I want to see where we can go with that, and I want to catch up with, the overall average. So it is, I can definitely take Junpei's side and see that, man, I want to get back there. It was what? Monday or Tuesday that we were there, and we did a bit of a climb. And to think that if we keep studying from now and through exams, it'll be quite a while before we can actually see the inside of Tartarus again. But, as Mitsuru just told us in no uncertain terms, we are students first. Here on the 18th is when midterms begin. They last this entire week. Wow, they compile those results really quick on the 25th. But, again, that's the 18th. So we have today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, and then it is exams. So we need to get ready for that. And as much as Tartarus sounds like a productive diversion, I'm not sure if it's as productive as it actually would be, or if it's just, making other work to supplant the work that I feel like I really should be doing. So, of course, the next responsible thing to do is turn on the TV. Let's see what's on. Today's exchange rate. The dollar is now valued at 114.9 yen, a slight increase from before. That's another thing I've always liked with their depiction of things in game. It's like, most of the time when you turn the TV on, just like a real TV, it's in the middle of something. It will be in mid-sentence. It won't necessarily line up with being just perfectly there to start a brand new thought process. This was the middle of a report. We'll head off to the Polonia Mall here. But yeah, it's just that it feels like a real TV in that sense. Oh, I don't know. How about Club Escapade? It's nice to stop in there. For anybody that hasn't been in there, we can, show that off and see if it, confirms with, what the cheerful old man who was standing here earlier was talking about it being a loud place. And yeah, it's that mixture of dark but light. Nobody new to talk to. You'll see the exclamation mark above the fortune teller there. That's to remind us that next time we go to Tartarus, I'm supposed to get a fortune from her before we go to increase the spawn rate of rare shadows, and that was a request from Elizabeth. So I don't really want to talk to her before then, just on that off chance that I miss out on something, or what have you. But we're still here to look around and see that up here is still full of couples. I'm not a couple, so we'll stay out of their way. We've got a lot of dancers that maybe standing totally still is the dance move here. Maybe I'm doing it. Yeah, look at me go. Oh, that was enough partying for me. I should probably move on. Chagall Cafe, we could go there to have a coffee, make some progress in our charm and our courage. Not bad, but not really what we need either. I think the game parade was for charm today, so I can't really look at that for academics. Yeah, it was High School of Youth. Probably a good game, but doesn't help our academics. So I kind of think we're in the same boat we were yesterday, with our choices being Wakatsu or being studying in our room. It's kind of looking that way. While we're out, we'll see a bit more of the town as we're out here, but let's stop by the Iwatodai. We'll start at the Iwatodai station and then make our way to the strip mall. And here's another one of those fun details to point out. Since we decided to come to the station first and we came by train, we actually entered from up here this time. Again, nothing earth-shattering. It's exactly what should be expected to enter from there, but nice to see the game just do that rather than putting us, on the map. It put us on the right part of the map. Part of my reason for coming here was to just check with the Net Cafe again. I think I've already purchased everything that can work on our academics, but we're not out anything to stop and do that double check. I'd rather spend a minute now than to miss out on something that could have been beneficial. Yep, this works on our beautiful bodies. That'll be our charm. That one's courage. And these are a different category. So, yep, nothing more for academics here that we haven't already done. But we have that knowledge now. And actually, there's one other thing I want to stop that I hadn't thought about stopping at, which ironically is doubling back to where we just were. So we're going to go back to Polonia Mall. We just like riding the monorail around now that it's safe. Back here in Club Escapade. A gentleman I hadn't referenced recently, but he is back here. As I muscle my way through the crowd. We've got a suspicious man. The kind of person you probably shouldn't prioritize talking to unless you already know them, but yep, you do what you want to do. But this guy here,
Go have a look for yourself.
he offers us, unique website links and, computer access things that he claims are from the dark web and all these, fun, mysterious things. But I haven't checked with him in a while to see if he has anything new, so I'd like to see that and just make sure there's nothing I could be benefiting from. Yep, still just 2 different notes. Iwatodai forum note and School X site note. They're not that expensive. But at the same time, I'm not really in the need of them right now either, so maybe it's better to hold on to my money. I am glad to know, though, that there isn't anything here. I kind of wondered if maybe there was something else I could do with my academics that he might have a link to, but now we know for sure. We'll just take a jaunt through this side of the mall instead. And it's going to seem redundant, so, bear with me as I talk it out with you guys, but I am feeling the pull back to Wakatsu Kitchen. I had said the other day that studying in my room was good, and I still stand by that. That was a good use of my time. And I don't want to just, be that guy who's trying to min-max the game side of things, but it does feel like we do make slightly more academic progress by getting the dinner at Wakatsu first. So if we kind of, lump those 2 tasks in together almost, I like to think, like I said earlier, that if we get a good filling dinner here, that just gets us prepped and ready to make the most of our time after dinner. Even if we're not actually studying during the meal, like I'd suggested maybe we were. If we get this good meal and we're full and motivated, we can go home and hit the books. Yukari's already out. Junpei, maybe he's moved on to studying himself. But either way, we can find a good comfy place in the dorm, be it our room or one of the sofas in the halls or back down in the lobby, and just try to do some actual really hard looking over our notes, preparing for tomorrow or whatever have you. I mean, exams are coming, so there's no shortage of things we could be doing. So there's nothing to say specifically that we're just going to the kitchen here and getting this Prodigy Platter and expecting that to just magically make us more academic. That might be how the game kind of, makes it look, but if we add that little bit of storytelling to it ourselves, I think it kind of helps break up the idea of it being a repetitive task of, something we just did yesterday, and it still kind of frames it as a different day, for the same reason as every school day is different, even if it doesn't show us. Maybe we eat our dinner here, and we head up to the 3rd floor. They had some of those nice, cube couches at the dorm, so, maybe we set up on one of those, by the table, and, maybe we get out our English and, try to study up on that, or we review our science again, just to get us, fully ready for that, or history, there's any number of things, so it's not just, just a dinner here. It's the start of how we're going to academically focus our evening. So I think that is going to be how I want to spend the rest of the evening. Again, with everything Mitsuru said, I feel like there's no way I can't, not prioritize my academics. And I will feel that much more rewarded as we get into exams if I know that I've done everything I can and I haven't left anything just half done. So let's do it. Let's head to Wakatsu Kitchen, start with dinner, and then hit the books hard. Eat at Wakatsu. I don't think I'm charming enough to order the seafood full course yet, but let's try it and see. I think I need at least 1 more rank. They'll tell me if I'm not charming enough, and we can, sheepishly turn back to the Prodigy Platter, but let's try it here. The worst they can say is no, right? Seafood full course menu. Can I ask for that? Nope, I cannot. Okay, I need to be confident. So, I'm unpolished right now, but we've got something to keep looking forward to. Oof. That's kind of rough, though, and that totally exited me out of the conversation, so that almost feels like I have to, leave the building and come back in. It's like, hey, me again. I guess I don't look like a regular, so maybe they wouldn't recognize me, but, 1 Prodigy Platter, please. But yeah, it was a good meal last night. Maybe there's even some, level of exam preparation superstition at this point. I ate this good meal, and then it made me really motivated to go home and study. And if I do that, then I'll get good grades on my exams. Stuff that, doesn't really have any factual basis, but there's a lot to be said for that that placebo effect that was referenced earlier on in the semester, and convincing yourself of the truth of something, whether or not it's actually true, and the power of positive thinking in the mind. Yes, Prodigy Platter, study, good evening, academics. It does look like a good meal. I ordered the Prodigy Platter. I feel smarter now that I've had some brain food. And because I feel smarter with this food, I can head back to the dorm and I can get into the books and really make some solid progress before bed tonight. Couple points of academic progress. We're still just average. And again, I will take average. I'd like to, keep going beyond that. I'm not going to settle, for staying average, but there are a lot worse things I could be than average. But we'll just keep taking those steps as far forward as we can, and eventually we'll be beyond average. But that didn't happen just yet tonight. All right. We'll stop it there so we don't see tomorrow before tomorrow happens. But I will get us back to the desk and let's talk about this. Okay, so here we are. That was the end of Thursday, May 14th. As I've said with a lot of our days, I think it was a really good day. As I'm, never coming into the day knowing exactly what I'm going to do, it's always been fun to take it in the moment and just see how it all unfolds. It started out at school, of course. It's Thursday. We're getting ready for exams. And before school, we heard some people talking about, school rumors, basically, about the school being haunted, and that led to some mention about the nurse's office and the weird medicine that he offers there. And, that's just one of those things to consider going down the road, depending on how our time in Tartarus is spent. There's just, more knowledge of things to do and resources to make use of. And that led us into the school day, which didn't depict much on screen for us, but as with other days, I'm sure there was a lot of exam-focused work going on. Last-minute reviews of things, or handouts of make sure that you're ready for this on the exam, or you be sure to check this section specifically because I'm going to focus on those with my questions. And I can relate back to that in my own high school time and thinking about as big tests were getting closer and all the different study guides and things that were handed out, or things you had to fill out, or I guess you didn't have to, but it really helped. And I really tried to prioritize that when I was a student. So I like to, just try to assign that same feeling to the playthrough we have here. And I like to try to, think our character is, getting more studious. He's average. And especially with the recent couple days' decisions about academics, I feel like that is kind of that high school turning point where he is starting to see the value of putting that time and that effort in. The exams are going to come, and he's got that understanding of reality a little bit more so now. That maybe I'd like to think I had as a high schooler that maybe I didn't actually have, but that exams are coming and the stuff does need to be prepared for. Seeing that growth into responsible rather than distraction focused. Not to say I'm totally beyond that either. I mean, I'm out of high school, but there are plenty of days, like I said earlier, where I'm good at distracting myself with things I pretend need to be done rather than things I know need to be done. So it's an ever-present battle. But it's nice to feel like in game I'm making that progress. So we made it through our school day with whatever it entailed, whatever meaning we assigned to it. I like to think it was a busier one since we're a few days from exams. But that took us to the after-school time. And we came into that with just as little of a plan as before, other than an underlying theme of academics and the upcoming exams. So I decided to stretch my legs and talk to some people around the school, see if anything was specifically calling out to us as something to do. We chatted with all of our regulars, saw the Weak Cat, the different people at the Polonia Mall. And it's always good to see them and just see that everything's going status quo for them. Stopping by the Velvet Room, I also wanted to check my current persona status to see what I had on my person, depending on which social links I wanted to work with today. And the only one that was available seemed to be the elderly couple. Some people had spent some time with another character we haven't met yet, so that wasn't an option for us. And it got to that point then where I needed to make that call of, do I do something academic or do I do something social? I could make a case for both. I could make a case against both. So that's that tough choice of, you can't do both. You have to pick one. Well, I didn't have to pick one. I could have picked something totally unrelated. But in my head, it's like those were the two things I really wanted to look at considering doing. And so at that point, I did have to pick one. And I did. I decided it had been about a week since we spent any time with the elderly couple. And it was going to be just a good chance to catch up with them. And we talked about it in the stream at the time, too, about, maybe we were stopping by the bookstore to pick up a study guide or some sort of reference book to help with our studies. So we made our way there, and as we got there, we saw Bunkichi and his wife looking around the store for something. He was muttering to himself about, where is it? It was here before, but now it's not. So that gave me the chance to ask him, hey, have you lost something? And he was like, perfect timing, Tom. I lost my wallet. It was right here, but now I can't find it. And that gave me the chance to offer to help him look for it. Again, adding my own narrative to things, I figured, while we're looking around the store for whatever book, I could keep an eye out for that wallet. And, just do what I can to help the couple. I want to help him find that. It would be mortifying to lose your wallet in the first place anyway, so, that is a huge priority to get taken care of. So we were looking around the store for that as best we could. During our time looking, we weren't coming across it, and Bunkichi was seeming a little depressed and, probably a little desperate at that point. He's like, we've looked everywhere, where haven't we checked yet? And at that point, someone wearing the same school uniform as we have, walked into the store, and he just, went to the couple and he asked, excuse me, did you lose this? He came in with a wallet that he found out in front of the store. As fortune would have it, it was perfect. That was Bunkichi's missing wallet. And he was, ecstatic to have that back. He was so thankful that this boy, brought this wallet back to him. And it was more than just a wallet to Bunkichi, but that, that came up afterwards. But in the moment, there was this, this student from our school that we hadn't specifically met before. I did remember seeing him when we were first coming to school back at the start of April. Yeah, he was talking with another teacher about, about how great Japan is. I remember his accent and seeing him down on the first floor. And so it was nice to see him again. And he, mentioned his, that he's an exchange student from France. And he is here in Japan to study. And that he introduced himself in his, full proper name, which I feel embarrassed to admit that I can't quite remember right now. But I will be the first to say I'm not the best with names. Not that that's an excuse, not that that's a good reason. That is an excuse, and that's not something to be proud of, but it is what it is. But, it was, after the fact, he said, but you can call me Bebe. That part I do remember. So we met Bebe today. He said he trains at the home economics room at the school, so if I ever want to stop by, he'd love to show me around there. So it was nice to make a bit of a connection with him as he, excused himself then and headed back on his way. He seems like a spirited and earnest guy, so it'd be nice to kind of get to know him more if we can. But that took us back to being in the moment with Bunkichi and Mitsuko. And he was excited to have his wallet back. And he instantly opened it up and he's like, oh good, it's still here. It's right where it's supposed to be. And he pulled out what appeared to be a car key. And he was just talking about how motivated and young he feels, with this car key in his hands and the fact that they could hit the open road. And, he turned to his wife and asked her if she wants to go for a ride with him. And at that point, we saw a side of Mitsuko that we haven't seen before. She raised her voice and said, basically, stop that. Enough is enough. How dare you even suggest getting into a car after what happened? And, how dare you, risk losing you too? And, she was obviously quite shaken up by the prospect. And, that kind of caught me off guard. It seemed to, catch Bunkichi a little off guard before he realized what he'd said and kind of backpedaled a bit and said, oh, I'm sorry, dear. I didn't mean it like that. And it kind of, the game forced me to throw myself in between them there and, ask, what's this about a car? And that's where Bunkichi gave us a bit more detail of some stuff I could kind of read between the lines from the dialogue already and see that the son that they'd mentioned losing, they actually lost in a car accident where there was an incident between a drunk driver that took the life of their son. Terrible, terrible stuff. So I can 100% rightfully see the fear that Mitsuko holds with her from all that. I mean, yeah, that I can't think that would be easy to get rid of at all. So it was nice to have them open up a little bit more about their son and to share that with us, because that can't be an easy thing to talk about. That's, yeah, I mean, I can't even really put it into words properly. I don't want to downplay it and not do it justice. So I'd rather just kind of leave that as it is and say that I believe it was a hard thing for them to share with me. So I appreciate them trusting me with that. And Bunkichi, in his perfect self, after the really deep talk, kind of said, hey, what's everybody looking so down about? Well, let's be happy again, and try to turn things around like he likes to do. And he turned to his wife and said, "Hey, dear, let's you and me go out and get a nice dinner, just the two of us." And I like that thought. I mean, the two of them, to go do something fun, something they would enjoy. That they might have a chance to talk or reminisce or whatever, but just a chance for the two of them to enjoy each other's company and be there for each other through this as well. So I'm sure they went out and got a nice dinner, and I excused myself from the store at that point, headed back on my way. But in spending time with them, I got another rank with Hierophant Social Link Arcana, so that was nice progress. But I made my way back to the dorm. And just like last night, as soon as I came in, Junpei was there, and he was kind of like that excited puppy again, and it's like, "Hey, can we go to Tartarus tonight? I want to go to Tartarus. Come on, let's go. We can go to Tartarus, right? We've got the time for that." And just like yesterday, even more so actually, it was in my head that yes, I did want to go to Tartarus, but the thought of proper academic study was more in the forefront of my brain even than it was yesterday. And so it kind of gave me that choice between whether I wanted to encourage his confidence or be that voice of reality and, remind him about, hitting the books and studying. And I didn't want to just be that buzzkill that says, "Come on, man, you got to study." He's his own man. He knows what he needs to do. I want to help him if I can, but, I don't want to be that micromanager guy that says, "Oh, no, I'll crack the whip. You got to get back to work." Like, no, he can make his own choices. And I do want him to be confident and, proud of his abilities there. So I encouraged his courage and such. But that's where Mitsuru stepped in, and she didn't have some of the same qualms that I did about that. And she just, said, like, "Oh, so you're so confident in your exam preparedness that you're willing to take the night off to head to Tartarus. You must be well ahead of your studies at this point then, right?" And I mean, that was just that total, I could see, she knew exactly what she was saying, and she knew exactly how prepared Junpei was or wasn't. And you could see him kind of, realize that too, as it was kind of that being talked to from like almost that called into the teacher's office sort of thing. It's like, "No, you're right. I could probably study just a little bit more. Maybe I'm not, 100% ready for exams yet." And then she, got to give us that responsible, message of reminding us that, our work with, investigating the shadows is important. But at the same time, she said, we are students first. And I like that no-nonsense side of her. She has always, been there to remind us about that. Studies are important, and our life as a high schooler is an important thing. Whatever help we can give by trying to understand the shadows and stop whatever mysterious threat this is, that's good. But she knows that, herself included, we are all still high school students, and we need to prioritize that side of our lives too. And so, at that point, that really, totally ruled out any ideas of me going to Tartarus. Even if it was kind of kicking around in my head as maybe we could. It's like, there's no way I can ask now. And I did feel, that additional motivation too of seeing, that side of Junpei in myself. It's like, I'm not as ready as I could be or should be either. I can't say, "Oh, Junpei, you need to go study," because, hello, I need to go do that too. And even more so on that fact that Yukari was out and, not available to go to Tartarus tonight. The other day, she said she was going out to get some study notes with some friends. I'm assuming she was probably, doing that or studying with those friends tonight. She seems like she's really doing all she can to get ready. And I want to just kind of try to follow that example as well. Between Mitsuru saying it and Yukari showing it, I want to live up to that same level of responsible. So I decided that academics was really the only priority I could have tonight. And that just left, how to make the best use of it then. There weren't a lot of in-game choices that would focus on academics. There was the same two we had last night, actually, of studying in our room or going to Wakatsu. And again, as much as I had talked about, Wakatsu just being a fish place and getting a good meal, the more I thought about it, the more I tried to broaden my view on that, the same way I do with school. When we go to school, it isn't just a 1-minute scene of school starting and school ending. There's a whole day in there. So the thought of me just going and getting a fish dinner and then going home and going to bed and feeling smarter as a result, I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that too. So despite going to Wakatsu last night, I went back again today, and we got the same fish platter. But as I was telling you guys in the moment, I like to think then it's like after we had a good filling meal that got the brain energy going, that's when we were able to head back to the dorm and get our books out and get our study materials out and really take all the rest of the time until bed to focus only on our studies. And so that's why we were able to come away with a couple points of academics. We had a good meal, we had good time to study, and we got a good night's sleep. All those things are going to contribute to greater academic success. And so, in spending our time that way, it felt less like we were just eating a meal and getting smarter, and that we were being responsible students for the entirety of the evening. And it makes it, for me, feel more rewarding to get to the end of the day thinking that that was how we spent the day. We, from start to finish, lived our high school student life. We went to school, we helped out some people that we could after school, we got a responsible dinner, a good dinner with money that we worked for ourselves, and then we hit the books and got to bed at a reasonable hour. So that should just, make us that much more prepared coming into school tomorrow. And if we're ready for school tomorrow, we can learn more in school, which will also then contribute to our exam preparedness for Monday. And it's just that positive snowballing effect of putting in the time now pays out dividends later. So I feel like that was just a good, solid endpoint to the day to encapsulate that idea of making choices and spending them and ending up feeling like I'm making progress in the right directions for where I am in my life and in the story. But on all those notes, that seems to be where Thursday, the 14th, came to a close. I'm sure our head hit the pillow after a day of being out and about and studying all day, and we were ready to get some sleep and just unwind and relax. So hopefully we get a good night of sleep tonight, and we can come into tomorrow and finish the week on a strong note. That brings us to the end of Thursday, May 14th. It's been another good, productive day. I think we're getting that much more prepared for those exams that start next week. I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Tom Shima, and I stream this Persona a Day series every day at 12:30 Eastern Time. So anytime you want to watch it live, you can do so at that time. I also upload each day's playthrough to YouTube. I've got a playlist there of the current day and any past day. So if you ever want to catch up on any of that, that's where you can do so. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday, May 14th, that you can accomplish all the things you need to do to get done for today and to put yourself in a good position for the coming days and weeks going forward. I have been Tom Shima. Thank you again, and goodbye. With that, we've reached the end of the day. Please look forward to next time to see where the game goes from here. This journey is being streamed live on my Twitch channel if you'd like to be there in person for the experience. Links and schedule details can be found in the description. I'll keep uploading each day's session to this channel so you can keep watching here. Once again, I'm Tom Shima. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you again as I continue the series, Persona a Day. What will tomorrow bring?